17 million tourists. That is the official number of people who poured into South Korea in a single recent year. And if you have been scrolling through travel TikTok lately, it probably feels like every single one of them is standing directly in front of you the moment you touch down in Seoul. Flights are packed to capacity, hotels are pushing peak pricing nearly every month of the year, and some of the most iconic landmarks are starting to feel less like cultural treasures and more like overcrowded, high-pressure photo lines. Here is the part that most glossy travel guides and influencers will never tell you. You can easily spend several $1,000s on a trip to Korea, check off every single location on a top 10 list, and still walk away feeling like you barely scratched the surface of the real country. The gap between what looks stunning through a filtered lens online and what is actually worth your precious time in 2026 is getting wider every single day. So today, we are not just listing pretty places to look at. We are breaking down the top 10 spots to visit in South Korea, providing the raw reality, the hidden costs, the crushing crowds, and the tiny details that ultimately decide whether a stop is a highlight or a total waste of your itinerary. If you appreciate honest breakdowns without the sugarcoating, hit that subscribe button and let's dive into the reality of Korean travel. Number 10. Gyeongbokgung Palace. We are starting right in the heavy heart of Seoul, at what is arguably the most famous historical landmark in the entire country. Gyeongbokgung looks exactly like the postcard version of Korea you have imagined, with its wide granite courtyards, intricate traditional architecture, dramatic mountains in the backdrop, and guards in full ceremonial attire. It is undeniably beautiful, but it is also one of the single most congested spots in the capital city. If you show up anytime after 10 in the morning, you are not walking into a serene royal palace. You are walking into a chaotic sea of rental hanbok outfits, massive tour groups with megaphones, and thousands of cameras blocking every walkway. The entry ticket is very affordable, usually just a few dollars, but the real cost you pay is in your time and your patience. The lines, the noise, and the intense heat during the peak summer season can easily turn this into a stressful 3-hour ordeal rather than a cultural experience. If you want a better version of this, you must go the very minute the gates open. Or better yet, consider visiting nearby palaces like Changdeokgung or Gyeonghuigung, which offer a much more immersive and peaceful atmosphere. Number 9. Seongsu-dong and the Brooklyn of Seoul. Instead of the usual theme parks, the real heartbeat of Seoul in 2026 is found in the industrial streets of Seongsu-dong. This area used to be filled with shoe factories and car repair shops, but today it has transformed into the most influential cultural hub in the city. It is where you will find the most daring fashion pop-ups, experimental art galleries, and some of the most impressive architectural cafe designs in the world. The reason this makes the list over places like Lotte World is because it represents the actual creative energy of modern Korea. However, the catch here is the extreme commercialization and the wait times. Some of the most famous cafes or limited edition pop-up stores can have digital waiting lists that stretch for 4 or 5 hours on a weekend. If you enjoy people watching and cutting-edge design, Seongsu-dong is an absolute must, but treat a visit here like an event. Plan your reservations through the local apps in advance, and be prepared to spend a significant amount of money on coffee and designer goods. Number 8. The National Museum of Korea. If you genuinely want to understand the soul of this country, beyond the surface level of K-pop and skincare, this is where you need to go. The National Museum of Korea is an architectural masterpiece in itself, and it covers everything from prehistoric artifacts to delicate Buddhist art. The scale of this place is staggering, and you cannot realistically see even a quarter of the collection in a single afternoon. The best part is that entry to the main galleries is completely free, making it perhaps the highest value cultural stop in Seoul. But here is the honest warning for the casual tourist. If you are not deeply interested in history or fine art, this massive complex can feel cold and overwhelming very quickly. Instead of trying to conquer the whole building, our advice is to head straight to the second floor to see the Room of Pensive Images. The two statues there are world-class treasures, and the quiet, dark atmosphere of that specific room is one of the few places in the city where you can truly find a moment of zen. Number 7. The demilitarized zone. This remains one of the most intense and unique travel experiences, not just in Korea, but in the entire world. The DMZ is the heavily fortified border between North and South Korea, and it serves as a constant reminder that the two sides are technically still at a state of war. You cannot simply hop on a bus and go here on your own. It requires a strictly regulated tour, and prices generally range from $60 to well over $100. The entire experience is tightly controlled by military personnel, and you will pass through multiple checkpoints where you will be told exactly where you can and cannot point your camera. It is not a casual or lighthearted tourist stop. It is structured, serious, and at times palpably tense. You will descend into tunnels, dug for invasion, and look through binoculars directly into one of the most secretive nations on Earth. For many travelers, this provides a geopolitical context that you simply cannot get from a city tour. Number 6. In Wangsan Mountain. For years, people have flocked to the Namsan Seoul Tower for a view of the city. But in 2026, that area has become a crowded bottleneck of cable car lines and expensive gift shops. If you want a real Seoul experience, you should hike the ancient city walls of Inwangsan instead. This mountain offers a panoramic view that is arguably superior to any observation deck because you are seeing the city framed by rugged nature and history. The hike is moderate and accessible, featuring a well-maintained wooden path that follows the white stone fortress walls. The reality check here is that you need to be prepared for a workout, as there are many stairs that will test your leg strength. If you time your hike for just before sunset, you can watch the city lights flicker on across the massive Seoul skyline while sitting on a giant rock that has been there for thousands of years. It is a moment of pure clarity that you will never find at the top of a crowded elevator in a tourist tower. Number 5. Bukchon Hanok Village. This is the location that looks absolutely flawless in every single travel magazine and Instagram post. It is a cluster of hundreds of traditional Korean houses with tiled roofs and narrow winding stone alleys right in the center of the modern metropolis. But here is the reality that most people only realize once they are standing on those hills. These are not museum pieces. They are private residences where people are trying to live their daily lives. Because of the overwhelming number of tourists, the local government has had to implement strict visiting hours and noise restrictions. If you show up at noon on a Saturday, the narrow streets are so packed with people that it feels more like a crowded subway station than a historic village. To actually enjoy Bukchon, you have to arrive at 7 or 8 in the morning, move in total silence, and explore the outer edges of the village rather than just the main photo spot. If you cannot commit to being an early bird, you might find the experience more frustrating than charming. Number 4. Seoraksan National Park. When the concrete canyons of Seoul start to feel like they are closing in on you, Seoraksan is the ultimate escape. This national park in the northeast is famous for its jagged granite peaks, crystal-clear mountain streams, and the most spectacular autumn foliage in East Asia. However, there is a logistical reality you need to be aware of. Getting to Seoraksan from Seoul takes roughly 3 to 4 hours by bus, and during the peak fall season, the traffic can be a total nightmare. Once you arrive at the park entrance, you will find that thousands of other people had the exact same idea as you. The lines for the cable car can be hours long, and the popular lower trails can feel as crowded as a city sidewalk. But if you are willing to take the harder, steeper trails, you can eventually leave the crowds behind and find a level of peace that is increasingly rare in South Korea. Number 3. Jeju Island. Now we are heading south to what is often called the Hawaii of Korea. Jeju is a volcanic island defined by its black basalt rocks, emerald waters, and a much slower, more relaxed pace of life. Flights from Seoul are incredibly frequent and surprisingly cheap, but here is the catch that many international tourists overlook. Jeju is much larger than it looks on a map, and if you do not rent a car, you will spend a massive portion of your vacation waiting at bus stops or paying for expensive taxis. Renting a car requires a very specific international driving permit, and if you do not have the right paperwork, you will be stranded at the airport. Jeju is a place for slow exploration, visiting orange groves, and hiking up volcanic cones like Seongsan Ilchulbang. If you try to rush through it in 2 days without a car, it will feel like an inconvenient detour rather than a tropical escape. Number 2, Busan. Busan is the second largest city in Korea, and it offers a completely different atmosphere that many travelers actually prefer over Seoul. It is a gritty, vibrant port city where the mountains meet the sea, giving you a mix of beaches, massive seafood markets, and colorful mountainside villages. The high-speed train from Seoul is a marvel of engineering, getting you there in under 3 hours. But the tickets are quite pricey and must be booked in advance. Haeundae Beach is the most famous spot, but in the summer, it is so crowded with umbrellas that you can barely see the sand. The real magic of Busan is found in places like Gamcheon Culture Village, which is a kaleidoscope of colorful houses built on a steep hillside. Busan feels more open. The people are known for being more outspoken and friendly, and the food culture is focused on the freshest catch of the day. If Seoul is the brain of Korea, Busan is definitely the heart. Number 1, Changdeokgung Palace and the Secret Garden. At the top of our list for 2026 is the place that consistently delivers the most authentic experience in the capital. While Gyeongbokgung is larger and more famous, Changdeokgung was designed to blend into the natural topography of the land, feeling more like a home than a monument. The crown jewel of this location is the Hwon, or the Secret Garden, which occupies 60% of the palace grounds. Access to this garden is strictly limited to guided tours with a very small number of people allowed in at any one time, meaning the noise of the city disappears entirely. You are walking through ancient woods, past hidden lotus ponds and quiet pavilions where royalty once studied poetry. In 2026, when every other tourist spot feels like a frantic race for the best photo, the Secret Garden is one of the few places where you are forced to slow down and actually breathe. It requires advanced planning and a separate ticket that sells out almost instantly. But the reward is a genuine connection to the past. And that is truly the secret to enjoying South Korea in this modern era. It is about choosing the right moments to slow down and actually experience the environment around you. If you rush through the crowds, the entire trip will eventually blur into an exhausting memory of bus rides and lines. But if you choose your spots wisely and embrace the smaller details, South Korea will reveal itself in a way that is far more beautiful than any video can capture. If you want more honest breakdowns like this to help you navigate the world, hit the subscribe button, and we will see you in the next one.